The flow of federal monies to the states gives the federal government the ability to intervene in activities reserved to the states under the Constitution. What would you do to uphold the Constitution?
Well, that's pretty easy. I mean, we are a union of 50 sovereign states. I don't know if anybody realizes the importance of that statement or not, but we are a union of 50 sovereign states. The federal government is supposed to be limited and small, and any other powers not explicitly in the Constitution belong to the states, and the states should have the rights to control their own stuff. We need to stop the federal government from unfunded mandates, especially in education. We absolutely have to stop a lot of these issues. All of the strings that come attached from the federal government are never worth the price we pay for it. So I think that one of the solutions we need to do, and one of the things we can do to transition things out of the federal government back to the states where they belong, is we need the Congress, or legislators, to work with the governors and work with the state legislatures. I don't see that happening a lot. Sometimes we do. Every once in a while we do. But for the most part, everything's going the wrong direction, where everything is getting pushed back up. We need more local government. And it's beholden upon us as citizens to get involved in our local government and make sure that they're taking care of their responsibilities locally, not having massive debt, getting involved with your school boards, your chamber, your city councils, and then getting involved in state government. Make sure that they're not overloading you with debt and overloading you with property taxes, not spending money they don't have. We have 35 states right now. They're going into bankruptcy. And they're expecting a bailout from the federal government, and that means us. When we're not bankrupt, the states that aren't bankrupt, guess who's paying for those bankruptcies? It's us. So shrinking the size of government is absolutely a way to get the states back in control, but we have to find a way to transition a lot of these programs. You know, yanking rugs out from underneath people is real hard, but there's a way that we can get there, and we've done it before. One of the things that the founders did when they wrote the Constitution, you know what they did? They looked at history, and they saw what worked and what didn't work. And they applied that to the problems that they faced then. They said they needed a constitution. They based that on the things from history. That's what we need to do with our problems, historical solutions.
Hey, Liz, can I get you to reread the beginning again, please?
The flow of federal monies to the states gives the federal government the ability to intervene in activities reserved to the states under the Constitution. What would you do to uphold the Constitution?
This one's easy. You represent the Constitution every time you take the floor. Every time a congressman steps up and starts talking about authorization for spending that's going to go to the states in any shape or form, is representing their morals, their Constitution, and their people of the district. As far as I know, and I checked pretty recently, I was the only person to sign the 10th Amendment pledge, which says that no matter what, I'm going to stand up for state sovereignty first. That I won't be bought into the system of making the federal government push things onto the states. That the states are sovereign, and that they should be controlling what they need, and the U.S. government needs to stay out unless the states have asked specifically for aid or help. And then the federal government can start talking about what they want to do. But the state governments are there to represent the people. The U.S. government is there to help the states when states can't get something accomplished, right? You can't just have the U.S. government push their belief system onto the states. It just doesn't work. Our founding fathers knew that. That's why we set up the Constitution the way we did, and that's why when George Mason put the Bill of Rights in place, the 10th Amendment was left there so that we said, you know what? We're going to leave and reserve certain things to the states, and it's going to be that way forever. It's an amendment that's been overlooked way too frequently in Congress, and we need to remind our Congress that the 10th Amendment is there for a reason.
We have to reduce the taxes collected from the states that go to the federal government. We currently have an inefficient system where the federal government collects money from the states and then decides, well, we'll give you back a portion of what you've given us. We will give it back. We have congressmen who will request earmarks for their states, money taken from other states and brought back to the district to address different issues. We have to have people that will be bold enough to stand up and say this is wrong. We have to cut funding for these agencies. You have to say that you have to stop collecting taxes from the states and returning it. Collecting taxes from the states and then returning it inefficiently back to them, such as highway funding. You know, there's all sorts of other funding where this occurs. And that's how we address the issue. We have to reduce taxes, federal taxes, in order to stop that flow from the state to the federal government, and then it's returned inefficiently.
I think when we look back, the issue of states' rights may well be the greatest legacy the Tea Party movement leaves on this country. There is a newfound awareness of our rights, of local control, newfound awareness of the mandates and the string. The problem is the federal government is addicted to control, and the states are addicted to the money. Addicted. And I'll tell you this because I respect our leaders here in Texas, but we have rallies on states' rights and the 10th Amendment on the weekend, and then they're in my office that week asking for the very money that they don't want to accept in the first place, as long as it's not visible. And they're addicted to those dollars. And it seems to me, I love a couple ideas. I love John Culberson, our conservative neighbor down in Houston, has this idea where the states get to vote on any federal program. They don't have to accept it, and they get the money back if they don't want to use it. Some of us introduced legislation the other day that says we can block any bill on the House floor that doesn't have specific constitutional authority cited on. There are some things we need to do, but the Tea Party really has been the leader, the forefront of this.
The real long-term problem we have is education, educating people that we don't, how to be good stewards of the society. Part of that comes from church, comes from religion or faith. The founders believed that as well. The states' rights agenda is one of the things that you have to be careful with. You know, the pledge, the 10th Amendment pledge. I have a stack of pledges. You're welcome to read them anytime you want. I have a stack of pledges. Everybody's come out of the woodwork since I started running for Congress. Send you a stack of pledges. Pledge this, pledge that, pledge everybody. Pledge that you'll take our cause. Pledge you'll take this. Here's our voter guide. Fill out all this time. You know, the only pledge that counts is the pledge to support and defend the Constitution. The 10th Amendment pledge is redundant. If you're supporting and defending the Constitution, you're supporting the 10th Amendment, the whole Constitution, not just pieces, not just parts. I'm not going to jump in and sign everybody's pledge. That is not what you do as a representative. I'm supposed to represent you. The people I'm beholden to are you. Not one small group, not one group's pledge, not any other thing. It's you. That's what our representative republic is about, representing the people.